Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. I'm back with part 2 of What If Deku had an item enhancement quirk. And yeah, I don't got much to say. Shout out to the boy Xplic, of course, for the thumbnail, like I said before. Check the links in the description. All that good stuff. And that's all I gotta say to y'all. And let's get right into the what if. Let's get it. Finally, it's UA time. Izuku Midoriya has finally made his way to the support course room, and he's excited. He is absolutely thrilled. After basically passing everything with flying colors, Power Loader can see some massive potential in Izuku, and frankly, the entire Hero Society can see the massive potential in Izuku. He's been doing things for a long time, at least helping out other agencies, so it's not too hard to see that. The only issue is that villains will also see that. If that comes into play far later, then we'll have to find out. But everybody knows, or at least most people know of Izuku, and he's kind of this phenomenon. This person that has done so much even without being in a hero school, but now he has the funding and the ability to truly do so much more. Izuku would immediately dive into class, beginning to speak with everybody there, talking about different items that they're going to be creating, and that's exactly what they're going to be doing. Izuku is going to be in works with many different items, many different, suits and hero suits and so on, and he learns about others' quirks. He is actually assigned class 1A, since he's one of the top students, at least in this support course, and he's assigned it with Mei Hatsume and some other people as well. Him and Mei Hatsume begin to work with some of these items. We're talking about the grenade bracers that Bakugo has, and so on and so forth. Everything you can possibly think of. Izuku would also come across this weird looking suit, which was for Todoroki, which he didn't really understand it. He didn't understand the benefits of it and so on, and Mei would say that there really isn't that many benefits of it. There's some heating in it so that he can actually cool, or he can actually heat up after he uses his ice, but other than that, he is really nothing else within that suit. He asks about the quirk name though. It says that it's half and half. Doesn't that mean half ice, half fire? Mei shrugs her shoulders, saying that she doesn't really question it, she's just given the directions. But she does think about a little bit that it doesn't really make sense. But still, these are her babies, and she wants to create as much as possible, at least in terms of helping out with support items. Izuku would begin working on Bakugo's bracers, and thinking about all the times that him and Bakugo has come to words, that it all led to this, that eventually he would be the support hero helping Bakugo. He knew Bakugo was talented, and he knew that this would eventually come to fray. But that's fine, he doesn't really mind. He begins to adjust the bracers, giving the bracers a more light feel, as if it feels as if nothing is on it. And on top of that, he continues to tweak them and actually give additional effects. He wants to give a nice slow effect, which he does by basically talking to Power Loader about different areas that he can more or less go into in UA. Giving this slow effect to Bakugo's bracers will definitely help him tremendously. Bakugo wants to be close, wants to brawl, so if he can slow down or basically get people to stand still, then it will definitely benefit him in the overall grand scheme of things. In terms of Todoroki's, Izuku tries to adjust some things and add some additional stamina and different speed enhancements, but other than that, he can't really do much. He wasn't given much information, and he doesn't want to somehow hurt Todoroki in the long run. He begins to work with more and more outfits, people like Hagakure, which he can't add that much in the allotted time, and with the limited information he has, he can't really do that much overall for everybody. We're talking about extremely complex quirks that he doesn't even understand. So he'll need to definitely watch for exactly what they do, how do they utilize them, so he can get a better grasp on this in the future. But he does help everyone to the best of his own knowledge. Hagakure basically giving her more of a stealthy type of walk, making it so that her clothing could then blend in with her own invisibility, which is pretty easy for him, to be fair, because it's kind of just matching some certain quirks that he already has utilized, ideally around the idea of stealth. So since she's already invisible entirely, the whole stealth added to her clothing is a very basic idea. With that said though, he helps as many support items as he can, giving them basic boosts and so on, kind of putting everybody on a relatively similar playing field, but not being able to actually adjust everybody else's to actually their massive strengths, which is kind of sucky because he can't really get around to doing all that. And people like Kirishima and Kaminari could definitely benefit from it more than you could possibly imagine. On top of that, he has worked with Melissa Shields' items, which is kind of just allowing her to utilize her own quirk a lot better, being a lot more durable and so on. Same thing with Izuku. Izuku actually doesn't know that much about her quirk, just knowing that it's some sort of strength enhancement or some sort of acceleration of strength enhancement. But other than that, he doesn't know much more. With all that said and done though, the day for the support heroes and as much work as they possibly could do is done. And the next day, Izuku would want to at least watch in on the heroes versus villains bit of training session, in which he does get the clear and the go-ahead from Power Loader to do so. He tells Power Loader that this would be beneficial for all of them, because if they understand how everybody uses their quirks and how they're going to utilize them in the future, they could definitely make things even stronger, in which this is a good mindset for Izuku overall, because frankly, this is all he wants to do at this moment. There has been some talks about getting Izuku in kind of that hero course role as well, but Izuku himself has said that he doesn't have the breaking of limitations that everyone else has. He hasn't been able to make some suit of armor to make him even stronger. But it's funny because Meihatsume has been working on something kind of similar in a way, something that would allow Izuku to do so. But Izuku says that since it is kind of a prototype at this moment, that he doesn't really feel comfortable using it. But he does talk to Mei about being basically a walking billboard as when the UA Sports Festival comes around, telling her that he doesn't really mind overall and he'll show off whatever he can. And they can even kind of do a bit of a collab on it, knowing that Mei has some really, really good items. Hatsume is obviously happy about this and happy to hear this because, I mean, Izuku can really benefit anybody that he helps. But overall, she knows that the publicity of Izuku using and utilizing her items will definitely help when selling them and helping other agencies. After this is kind of, talked about and stuff, he then heads over with Mei and a couple others to check out the heroes versus villains training. They see as All Might begins to speak with everybody, talking about what's going to happen, how the heroes will invade and try to touch the bomb, and how the villains will try to protect it and try to defeat the villains or stall for time within 5 minutes. Izuku just watches as Bakugo absolutely dominates his turn, and as many others benefit from their support items. Bakugo would slightly walk over to Izuku and Mei Hatsume and ask them about what they did with his gauntlets. Izuku explains shortly what he did and says that it's really no problem, there's no reason to thank him, as he smiles and laughs. And Bakugo says that he wouldn't have thanked him anyways, and don't get over his head. Other than Bakugo though, most of the other people were pretty grateful in terms of the utilization of their clothing as a way of boosting their power. Even All Might can see that the quirk limitations, or at least to a certain extent their quirk limitations, were affected by how much Izuku actually implemented into their clothing and implemented into their gear, which is something that is massively beneficial for heroes not only their age, but also heroes in general. All Might would speak with Izuku and Mei Hatsume about making some support items for particular people, and of course that would go on eventually, but Izuku would want to work on some things with All Might, aka wants to make some sort of equipment for All Might, because he knows there's some limitations that All Might must have, especially after working for this long as a hero. He's not invincible, nobody is. But after watching everyone go through, they were able to see Kirishima, they were able to see Momoya Yorozu, they were able to see Tenya Ida, and many, many more people like Ochaku Uraka. Their utilization of a quirk, they're able to understand more and more, in which Mei wouldn't even think about elaborating on some of these support items that they already have if it wasn't for Izuku. Mei has been basically solely working on her own support items to basically sell off to other people, but since Izuku is there, Izuku's mind for this kind of blends with Mei's, so it's extremely beneficial overall for both of them. They would both continue their tweaks because, of course, the Class 1A heroes will be heading off to the USJ very soon, so Izuku continues to tweak more and more and more, putting in kind of a vital enhancement where you can kind of hear and see what's going on based on the equipment that they're wearing, and having straight up just enhanced communication systems that he can basically enhance himself. And on top of that, he can literally just straight up enhance any communication system, very similar to what Kaminari has and so on and so forth, and have a lot of alerts and alarms and so on that he's able to put in himself through either just other technology or enhancement. So Izuku continues to do this, feeling that hero work is definitely going to be definitely be a crucial part of helping hero work, knowing how people are doing, regulating what's going on, and that's another level for support heroes. He feels that this is definitely something that will be beneficial for all of them, just to make sure that everyone is a-okay at all times. And this would actually fall into place perfectly for what's going to happen, because, well, the USJ will be under siege, a siege that Izuku may not be there for himself, but when alarms begin to go off on his computer, he's concerned about what's happening, sending messages over to the main office as quick as possible, and they initially think that it's nothing, but this is something. More people are there than expected, and it seems like the radars and communication systems seem to be turning off and on, over and over again. So this is definitely something they want to check on, sending a multitude of heroes toward the USJ. As those heroes head off, Mei and Izuku continue to monitor the situation as the vitals of many of the people that they know begin to fluctuate. They're not sure if they're going in and out of consciousness or combat, but at the end of the day, hopefully they're at least okay to a certain extent. Everything would kind of go radio silent for a little bit, and Izuku and Mei Hatsume wouldn't get much information, but eventually they would hear about exactly what happened. They were right. Whatever was happening over there was a villain attack, and it was going on pretty crazy. So it was good that he had all those things installed and all those item enhancements implemented within their weapons and suits and stuff like that, because frankly, without that, it kind of would have been a little bit sticky in terms of just what would have happened. So they're able to get things cleaned up, but Izuku isn't given much information. I mean, why would he be? He's just a student. He's basically just told that everything turned out alright and that he had a pretty good part in that, and that he should start implementing those things into every single gadget, every single technology, and even maybe for some future agencies. Izuku agrees and thinks that's a great idea, and he'll continue to do so. But during this time, there's a bit of a limitation there, where he continues to do so, but he's also kind of prepping for the UA Sports Festival. I mean, he continues to enhance the body armor that Mei begins to make, and she continues to elaborate more and more on this suit of armor that she's kind of creating. Before, it was so basic, but now it's more and more and more. The rocket boots are far more advanced. The skeletal type of suit that she normally had that would allow people to move in different ways and so on and so forth is even more advanced as well, and they would continue to grow it. So during the UA Sports Festival, Izuku would definitely show it off, because the first UA Sports Festival for Izuku and Class 1A is about to be upon us. Izuku listens in as Bakugo basically tells everybody that he's going to dominate and beat everybody. Izuku kind of laughs this off because he's not going to necessarily try in this sports festival. He already has multiple agencies that want him to go there. But on top of that, he doesn't really need the recognition. Frankly, he just wants to show off this suit of armor, or at least this exoskeleton type of thing that Mei created with his help, of course. And as long as he can do that, there's really no worries overall in terms of what's going to happen. The first event would be announced by midnight. Midnight would tell everybody that it's going to be a bit of an obstacle course race. Izuku is excited for this because this is kind of perfect, and he looks toward Mei and gives her a thumbs up, basically telling her that everything is going to definitely be toward their favor, you could say, which is absolutely good to hear because Mei wants to have as much progression and as much publicity as possible in terms of obviously her inventions and her babies, whatever she likes to call those. And that would be easy as cake. Izuku would blast through the competition relatively quickly using her suit of armor, kind of showing off as much as possible, just the mobility, just how in and out he can go from around the robots, over the robots, and so on, showing off the rocket boots, how long he can stay in the air, how long he can, or how fast he can go forward, backwards, and all of that. And everybody would be completely in awe. He's not actually winning, which is ironic enough. He's not actually trying to win this whole thing. He's actually just trying to more or less get publicity. That's all he really cares about. So it's actually kind of funny when everybody's watching in complete awe when Izuku's only like in 10th place and everybody else is kind of getting ignored at this moment. But still, it's a cool thing to watch and a cool thing to be in awe about. And Izuku would eventually finish the race, passing up a couple of more people, ending in about 5th or 6th. And Mei Hatsume, being that she made replicas of some of those items, was able to show off some of the lower tier versions of it, which definitely would help in the long run as well, because everybody wants some support items but don't want to pay a crazy price for them. I mean, that's obvious, right? You don't want to pay a butt ton or a boat ton of money for just every single person in your agency when some of them won't really have the benefits as others, and that's just the fact of the matter. But still, she shows off as much as possible, and Izuku would even get into the cavalry battle and be able to easily kind of sweep his way through the cavalry battle using some of the items, some of the armor, some of the enhancements, but everybody else isn't actually allowed to use them. I mean, think about it. The heroes and stuff like that aren't actually allowed, or the hero courses aren't allowed to use any of their special little items. So Izuku's benefits for them normally are actually kind of crutches now for them. The slow effect that Bakugo has on his gauntlets doesn't have them anymore. That could be something he definitely could get used to, but at the same time won't have them at this moment. Izuku, on the other hand, can have whatever the heck he wants. So the cavalry battle with him, Mei Hatsume, and Tokiyami, and Ochaku Araka, and so on, would actually be easier, far easier than you could possibly imagine, because, for one, he has all the advancements he wants, and he can still enhance everybody else that is on his team, being that their clothing and so on. Yes, he can't do anything crazy because, I mean, there's restrictions, of course. There's decently large restrictions, but he can still boost them up a quite good bit. I mean, obviously enough. So he does boost their regular clothing, which would increase their stamina and stuff like that, but that's about it. But still, it would be beneficial for them, beneficial for him, and they would more or less get about second in the cavalry battle, and they would be able to squeak their way into the first place, or squeak their way into the 1 versus 1s. Other than this, Izuku has no intention of even going any further in this event. Could he? Maybe. If he utilized Mei Hatsume's invention with his collaboration of enhancement, he might actually be able to take this one home, but frankly, there's really no reason for him to. He's already shown off as much as he needs to show off, and he personally hasn't had the skill awareness with some of these inventions that he really should. So he can't really kind of take over how he wants to take over. He might end up just losing to someone like Todoroki, someone that is really, really, really powerful no matter what. So he doesn't really want to take that risk, and Mei Hatsume sees exactly what he's talking about, and they do promote their little inventions and stuff throughout the 1v1s, but Izuku would end up just losing to Shinso, and kind of on purpose in a way. He does see some potential in Shinso. I mean, he didn't even know this guy existed. He's in the general studies, and he does tell him after the fight that they're going to talk very soon, that he feels that he can give Shinso something that would make him far, far more powerful and actually be extremely beneficial in a hero setting. Shinso, hearing this, immediately kind of thinks that Izuku didn't really try during the fight, but Izuku says that at the end of the day, he's a support hero. He doesn't really care too much about stuff like this. He's only sees the benefits in spreading his support technology, his enhancements, and same thing with his support hero friends or classmates. Shinso kind of understands what he's saying. I mean, Shinso is technically a general studies student, so he kind of gets what he's trying to get across, and he understands exactly why Izuku wouldn't try super hard in terms of a 1v1. He has nothing really to gain, and might as well just give whoever else has stuff to gain a chance. On the other hand, though, Izuku does bring up the fact that he'll be working on some equipment for Shinso, maybe to give him more of a chance physically in terms of fighting, because that will definitely benefit him in the long run, but also something that would be more elaborate in terms of his quirk. Because at the end of the day, once people figure out what his quirk is, it's going to be kind of difficult to get people to actually talk to him. Maybe something that would kind of mask his voice into different voices will be something nice. Shinso hears this and kind of smiles at it, because this is something he's thought about and something he'll be getting far sooner than later, or far sooner rather than later, which would excite Shinso in extreme amounts, giving him the idea that he definitely will have a chance to try his hand in getting into the hero course at the end of the day. Izuku says that if he needs anything else enhanced or created, and he has any ideas, to come to him and Mei, that they should work on it. He's here all the time. He barely even goes home now because of how much stuff they have here. There's really no reason for him to go home when they have all of this amazing equipment here for him to utilize. He tells him that he upgraded Bakugo's bracers and Todoroki's suit, and everybody that has a quirk that is beneficial for physical combat has seen insane enhancements based on Izuku, and he tells him that he'll help him out any way he can. Shinso's grateful, of course, and Izuku would wish Shinso good luck after a little bit of time talking, telling him to give it his best because he has some crazy strong opponents that are ahead of him. And then after the UA Sports Festival, and after, frankly, Bakugo would end up winning because Todoroki would refuse to utilize his fire quirk. I mean, there is nobody that would kind of lean him into that. Izuku being a person that could, but he didn't actually survive that long. Maybe Todoroki will end up using his fire quirk for a different reason after speaking with Izuku in the long run. But at the end of the day, right now, he'll be stuck more or less just using his ice, unless he finally has his bit of a epiphany that he should utilize both. But for now, he refused to use it, and Izuku will not be the one helping him use it or utilize it in the long run, or at least not for now. Izuku, though, would see that the UA Sports Festival is finally over, and it's now time for him to truly kind of find an agency to go to, an agency that he can help out, or anything to think about in terms of all that. He's helped a lot of agencies, so let's be honest, there would be tons of agency offers no matter what. He could have not done the UA Sports Festival, and he most likely would have had a ton of agencies on his list, just from the flat out idea that they can get benefit from Izuku. And of course, he would look very closely into who he wants to go and who he wants to work with. Who would he be able to benefit the most out of everybody? Who would he be able to help out in terms of agencies? Well, that's a whole long thought process for himself. He goes through letter after letter after letter after letter, and eventually he would decide on one. He would decide on someone that he can actually benefit heavily through information that was given to him, and that's Sir Night-Eye's agency. On top of that, he'll get to work with one of the big three members, someone that he's pretty fond of overall, someone that he feels that he can even benefit him as well. So that's exactly what he's going to do. But before he does it, he does get in contact with Melissa, asking her what she's going to end up doing for this, well, agency or this internship portion of their schooling. And she already has someone in line, but does ask for him to more or less enhance some equipment that she made for herself. Some arm bracers and some clothing that would look very similar, or at least reminiscent of an All Might clothing. And on top of that, she just wants more durability, you could say. Izuku is completely fine with that and says that he'll do what he can in the short period of time and while he's working at Night-Eye's agency, and he'll have somebody ship it over to her. She thinks this is great as she writes down the address, and Izuku gets to work. But before he can truly finish up, he would head to Sir Night-Eye's agency and exactly dive into what's going on. And what's going on has been happening for a long time. A notorious villain group, other known as the Shiha Zaikai, has been running rampant for a long time, and Izuku is there to assist in the location of where this is going on. Can Izuku find out where Overhaul and the Shiha Zaikai is? They haven't been found in a long time and haven't been found yet, so can Izuku truly make a difference in this regard? Well, you'll have to find out in the next part of What If Deku Had an Item Enhancement Quirk. And I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. Everything helps, watching the video helps, and so on and so forth. And I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.